Welcome to the master class of life after high school, man. Listen, we are going to have us a phenomenal session today. But first and foremost, I need you to understand who I am and why I'm here. I am Pierre Evans. And the reason I'm here today is because I find that the majority of students that they label with the learning disability, with the behavior problems, are something that they put on us because they don't fully understand us, right? So the easiest way to push something aside that you don't understand is to give it a label. Now listen, this is not going to be conventional. This is not where we're going to, you're going to see me try to be all proper and all professional. No, that's not what I'm going to do here. What I'm going to do here is give you real information. What I'm going to do here is give you something that you can share with your students and also share with other parents, right? Because they have students that are just like I was, and they don't know how to deal with them. They have children that are just like I was, and they don't know how to deal with the student. Well, I am going to help you to help your student to identify what it is they are phenomenal at, and how do we dive deeper into it, right? How do we dive deeper into it? How do we stop making excuses? How do we stop making excuses? How do we get our students to stop making excuses? Our children to stop making excuses? Hopefully, man, y'all can hear me. Hopefully, we do not have any issues on the audio side of things, because I definitely want to make sure that you receive the message today, okay? I want to make sure that you receive this message loud and clear. Loud and clear. We are going to talk about one area today. Last week, man, we talked about dominating self. This week, we are talking about getting rid of excuses, okay? Getting rid of excuses. Now, as a parent, I done said to my kids a lot of times, right? Stop making excuses. Stop making excuses. And I promise you that they said to me before, Dad, stop making excuses. And I also promise you that before they said it, they thought about it. So there's some things, man, some excuses that we make as parents. There's some that we see, right, that we actually know we're making. And then there's some that we do not have a clue on. We do not have a clue. And then there's some we know we're making, but we're hiding them. You know what I mean? We're hiding them. So I want you to really grab this information, man. If your student is not in front of you, please go ahead and get him in front of you. I was the kid that was counted out. I was the kid that was misunderstood. I was that kid. And my mentor challenged me to write this book, right? First, I was trying to go and speak at colleges. Now here I am, a high school dropout. I'm traveling the country. I'm speaking to junior highs and high schools across the country. And I tried to reach out to some colleges. I did. I reached out to some colleges, right? Some universities. And they said, Pierre, you didn't even finish high school, but you want to come and talk to our students? Like, we can't have you come. And at first I was hurt. Like, what you mean? Because I know the type of people that I impacted already. But I started to understand where they was coming from. And the worst of it all is I started to believe that I didn't have a place there, or I didn't have purpose being there. And I had said to my mentor, my coach at the time, right? I was like, yo, E, the colleges told me I can't go speak there. They won't bring me in. He was like, yo, P, write the book. He said, write the book, P. A few days after that, CJ called me up, and CJ said, yo, P, you gonna write the book? He said, P Dizzle, you gonna write the book? And I was like, yo, C, I never wrote a book report in my life, man, and here you are talking to me about writing the book. You know what I mean? Write the book? I never did a book report. He was like, yo, I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you if you ever did a book report. He was like, there's a first time for everything. He said, but when you stop making excuses, let's talk about the book. And at that time, he knew what he was doing. He was pushing me. He was challenging me, right? He was basically saying like, yo, if you scared, just say that. And I was like, yo, cool, let's write the book, right? Like immediately, like, yo, let's write the book. I'm gonna write it. All right, cool. We're gonna do this, and this. He said, I need you to do this first. And as a high school dropout that at the time could barely read, could barely write, never did a book report in my life, imagine the pain I was feeling. But I knew that if I could put it on paper, I can get high school students, I can get junior high and high school students to buy in. I can get them to see like, yo, I was there too. I was the kid that tried to unalive itself multiple times. I was the kid that had all the learning disabilities, behavior disabilities. I had every tag, every label that they could stamp me with, right? Boom, here you go. I had all of it. And I challenged myself to write the book. When I got done writing the book, this book right here is actually, what did it come out to? 205 pages, right? 204. The 205th page is a reflection page for you to write down your reflections, right? But this book was 380 something pages. And we shrunk it down to be the 204, right? We shrunk it down to 204 because I went so in depth with the life I was living. When I tell you I went in depth, like I was given the blueprint to the point where if you didn't want to go right, you didn't want to be right in life, you had the blueprint to do wrong. And he was like, yo, P, we got to shrink that down. He said, I need you to write this book to where people that are going through it, when a high school student reads it and they're going through it, they know what you're saying because they can see between the lines. I don't need you to detail between the lines. I need you to write it so people that been in your situation, people that are in your situation, coming out of your situation, they see it. And as a high school student, they're like, oh, okay, I could do it. Okay. Yep, I could really make it. I can really do it. So when I wrote the book, they counted me out, right? I wrote that and I gave it to E. E read it and he was like, yo, we got something. We're going to publish this. So here I am, man. Think about this, right? The kid grew up in the inner city, hustled from 10 years old all the way to 29, like in the streets, heavy, happy to be here. I got the #1 motivational speaker in the world, Eric Thomas, that says to me, yo, P, I'm going to publish the book. And most people in this point would have been like, this is when I realized the importance of having people of influence in your space. And we're going to get into this content, right? Because I want to make sure that your student, your child gets this today. Because I'm going to talk from a place, right? This isn't just like some webinar. This is a masterclass, okay? This is a masterclass where I'm going to give you the ins and outs. And not only am I going to give you the ins and outs, but I'm giving you the formula to become a phenomenal salesperson. That's legal, honest, and ethical. When you leave high school, you will have the blueprint to make $100,000 a year income. You will have the blueprint to make more than your mom and your dad combined, right? Over the course of time. I promise you, right? So when I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it, now I got the #1 motivational speaker in the world that's like, yo, I'm going to publish your book. And I'm going to put my stamp on your book, right? I'm going to publish it and I'm going to put my stamp on. It was time to get the forward for the book done. And I almost picked up the phone and was like, yo, E, can you do the forward for the book? And I'm like, nah, E, that guy, but who was the one that was the most the biggest influence through this process? And that was CJ. And I was like, yo, C, can you write the forward for me? He was like, yeah? I said, yeah, C, can you write the forward for this for me, man? Please. He said, P Dizzle, say no more. I got you. So I had CJ write the forward for the book. Now I could have had Eric Thomas's name on the front of the book, right? Forward by Dr. Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. But instead I said, yo, C, can you write that? And C did it for me. I say that to say this to you. Where you are right now is not your final destination. Where you're at right now is the setup for what's to come. I didn't know that when I was going through all the mess I was going through and going through all the doubt, all the depression, all the frustration that I was going through, that I would have the opportunity to be in front of the people that I had the opportunity to be in front of, okay? But you know when it happened? When I got rid of the excuses, when I stopped saying, man, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do this and I can't do it because of this or I can't do it because of that or this person here or I don't have this support. When I stopped putting the blame everywhere else and started taking responsibility, started taking the blame, life started to change. So that's why today I want to talk to you guys about getting rid of excuses. And I don't just want to talk to you about getting rid of the excuses. I want to give you the blueprint to get rid of excuses. Okay? I want to give you the blueprint to get rid of excuses. When I got in here, I was supposed to be doing this video an hour and a half ago. And I had this issue and this issue and that popped up and that popped up and that popped up. I couldn't get that to work right. But I'm here. Years ago in high school, this is why I never did a book report. I don't have I got to go to the library. I don't have encyclopedias in the house. I don't have what I need in the house to do this. I'm not going to do it. And I would have just been done with it. I would have let everything that pop up become an excuse on why I didn't get it done, other than I wasn't holding myself accountable. So as I sit here an hour and a half later, what I understand is it doesn't matter when it gets done. You just have to get it done, all right? No excuses, man. Excuses cannot live here. If I let excuses live, I wouldn't have the book, because they sent it to me. And we're going to jump into this information. We're going to jump into this content today, but I need you to understand. They sent me this book. I got done. I was done writing the book. It was like 2 weeks after I turned it in. They sent it back to me. They was like, yo, P, the last chapter. They was like, the last chapter, we got to fix that. And then we got some edits in the second chapter that we need you to go back and clarify. I looked at my wife and I was like, yo, listen, I'm done. I'm not doing that, man. I don't care about that book now. I'm done. And my wife looked at me and she said, oh, you just going to give up again? No. All right, let me go. I'm going to go do it. And I sat down and I did it. And now look, like I got my face on the cover of a book that my mom gets to have on her coffee table, gets to have in her car. She gets to show her friends. And she gets to see my face every single day of an accomplishment that I was able to have, because I didn't give up, because I didn't let excuses get the best of me. How would you feel? How would you feel a year later, 2 years later, man, when you're looking at your child and your child has no excuses? Your child takes full responsibility for everything. Your child now is progressing like never before. My mom used to tell me, P, I don't sleep at night. And anytime my phone rings after a certain time, 10, 11 o'clock, for any reason, my heart hits the floor. P, do you know how hard that is for me? And when I left back home, my mother said to me, this was the best, last night was the best I ever slept in years, because I know you wasn't here. Yo, that was relief. That was relief. And it felt good. And then I was able to give her the book. And that lit her life up, right? So I'm saying that to say this. As a high school student, right now you're letting excuses get the best of you. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Maybe you're only letting one excuse be the one excuse that's holding you back. As a parent, maybe the excuse you have is stopping you from being a better parent so that your child can grow and develop the way they need to grow and develop. I don't know. But what I do know is anywhere an excuse lives, your dreams are being destroyed, okay? Your dreams are being destroyed. I said to myself the other day after having a conversation with someone, I said, yo, I wrote the book. Matter of fact, I'm talking to my daughter who was in the car, and I was like, yo, I wrote the book. But I was only obsessed with the journey, getting it done, because people told me I wasn't going to get it done. But then once I wrote the book, I didn't push the book. You can look at my social media. You don't see me advertising the book and pushing the book. These are habits of a high school student that I had, right? So if I knew then what I know now, life would be different. That's why y'all high school students are my biggest passion. Y'all high school students are my biggest motivation. All right, let's jump into this content, man. Let's jump into this. I don't want to waste no more time. Hopefully you get the point. You understand why I'm here. You understand why I am doing what it is that I'm doing. You understand that what I'm sharing with you is information that will help you to grow and develop. Now, I'm able to make a nice six-figure six-figure high, six-figure income, right? As a high school dropout. I'm not telling you to go drop out. Don't drop out. It's hard. It's hard, right? It's hard. Don't go that route. Use your time in high school as you have it. So right now, man, we're going to talk about excuses today. Last week, we talked about dominating self, which is key to everything, right? Yourself. But let's talk about excuses. And I want to read this to you because I want to make sure that you get it. And I don't want to miss nothing, right? I think missing a word in this will be devastating. So we all come up with excuses from time to time. Some of them we recognize, and some, and hold on. Let's back up. We all come up with excuses from time to time. Some of them we recognize for what they are, and others are camouflaged behind our fears. No matter how small they may seem, they affect your growth the same way. It's time for you to be honest with yourself and really look at the excuses you use as a high school student that is struggling, that is getting labeled by the teachers because you're giving them the ammunition to label you, meaning you're not turning in your assignments, meaning you're not showing up on time, meaning you're not showing up at all, and you expect them to look at you like you're serious, and when they call you out on it, you feel as though they're belittling you. No, they're saying things based on how you are acting. It doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean they can't go about it a different way, but what it means is you are giving them the ammunition. I wrote the book, they counted me out, but what I understand is I gave them the ammunition to count me out because I never did assignments. I always got kicked out of class anytime they called on me. Now, I used to always say, yeah, but I got kicked out because they called on me and they know I had reading problems. Yo, I could have handled it a different way, but I didn't. I handled it the way that I felt as though I wanted to handle it at the time, right? So that was just an excuse. So let's jump into this, man. I'm real big on questions. The reason I'm big on questions is because of this. Questions lead to results, desired results. The right questions lead to desired results, okay? I hope you get it. So I want you to ask yourself, I want you to write this down, right? I want you to write this down and I want you to ask yourself, what are your top 5 excuses? What are the top 5 excuses that you find yourself using? What are they? I want you to write it down. Number 1, right, what that I hear people always use is they say, man, I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person. Man, that's too early in the morning. I can't get up at that time. I guarantee you, if I said to you, what is the vacation you want to go to? What is your ultimate vacation that you would love to be on? You would tell me. And you're going to get excited when you talk about, I want to do this. I want to go here. This is why. And if I say to you, listen, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take care of that trip 100%. We're going to go for 1 month. You don't have to worry about nothing. I'm going to take care of everything. But we got to be at the airport at 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. You're going to be there. You're going to stay up all night to be at the airport. You might go to bed early so you can be energized to be at the airport. But what I can promise you is you are not going to miss that trip. You are not going to miss that event that you wanted to go to. And you've been wanting to go to for years, but you haven't had the opportunity. So what that says is, it's not that you're not a morning person. You do not see value in getting up. So because you don't see value in something, you don't move forward. So because you don't see school being valuable to you right now, you don't see science class being valuable to you right now, you don't put your energy into it. So it's not the fact that you don't want to. It's not the fact that you don't want what comes out of it. You just don't see the value in it, all right? So I want you to write down your top 5 excuses, okay? And I'm going to tie it all in at the end so you'll know why, but you got to answer these questions. The second one is, how are your excuses affecting your growth? How are your excuses affecting your growth? I had a buddy of mine. He was like, yo, I bought a TV for $70,000. I never forget this story. As soon as he said it, we're sitting at Cheesecake Factory. We're sitting down, we're eating, right? I'm eating this is back when they had the lobster, the shrimp, the crispy shrimp sandwich. Beaten. I don't know why they took it off the menu. Best thing Cheesecake Factory had, right? But we're sitting down, man. We're having lunch. And he was like, yo, P, I bought this TV, man, for $70,000. I said, 70,000. I said, what TV you got? I said, what it do? Like what that TV do? And he was like, nah, you're not getting it. He said the reason why the TV was 70,000 is because the minute I turned that TV off for a year and put that time into my company, I put that time into my brand, I made $100,000. I was only making 30 at my job. I made another $70,000 that year because I didn't put the TV on. So my TV cost me $100,000. So I'm asking you, what are your excuses? How are they affecting your growth? What are they costing you? I want you to write it down. Every time you say, I'll do it later, how many opportunities have you missed? How many times have you heard how great something went, but you didn't go because you said, I'll go next time? How many times has it affected you? Right? I want you to write that down. The third thing is, what is your definition of an excuse? Have a definition, and not what's in the dictionary, not what's in Webster. My definition of an excuse is a line that's drawn in the sand that is easily removed. Why do I say that? Because I came up with the idea with the excuse. So if I came up with that excuse, that means I can easily remove it. I don't have to say I'll do it later. I don't have to say next time. And some of y'all are going to school today, right? Not today because it's Sunday, right? But some of y'all are going to school throughout the week. You get that homework assignment and you're like, yeah, I'll do it later. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends first. I'm gonna go chill. I'm gonna go chill out. I'm gonna go play ball first. I'm gonna watch a little TV first. In the process of doing it, you're giving energy away to something that is already making its money. You're giving your energy away to something that is making you a consumer instead of putting your energy into something that will help you to become a producer. Once you become a producer, you can go ahead and consume what you want. But if all you're focused on is being a consumer, you will always be the consumer. I need you to be the producer, right? So, what is your definition of an excuse? I want to jump into this, and I want to talk about your personal growth journey, right? I want to help you to identify the excuses, see what they're costing you, remove the excuses so that you can get on your growth journey, okay? Because listen, at the end of the day, we all find ourselves making excuses from time to time. But if every time we make an excuse, that light bulb goes off and says, oh, what's that going to cost me? Man, if I don't do that right now, what pain is that going to give me later? See, that's the problem. We make an excuse today. We don't feel the pain for a week, a month, 6 months, a year. But then when that time comes, we're like, man, I wish I would have. See, I wanted to be a cop at 5 years old. Since 5 years old, I wanted to be a cop. And I had it planned out. I'm going to go be a cop. Once I'm a beat cop, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get into narcotics. Once I get into narcotics, then I'm going to go from there and I'm going to go apply for like the U.S. Marshals. From the U.S. Marshals, I'm going to go to the feds. You see what I'm saying? Like I had it all mapped out. But I kept letting these little excuses stop me. And before I know it, I'm 35 years old. And in order to be a U.S. Marshal, right, you have to have 2 years of it. You have to have your associates, which takes you 2 years to get. Not only do you have to have your associates, but you have to have 2 years serving inside of like a federal facility, right? Whether it's a courthouse, whether it's a prison, you have to have 2 years. Back then, that's when I looked it up, right? 2 years. Here I am, 35 and a half. There's no way for me to complete that. Even if I got my associates in year one, because I went overtime, I can't make up the time to have 2 years of experience. You understand? That window closed. The excuses that I made going through high school, where you are right now, you're in high school right now, there's decisions you're making right now that there's excuses you're making right now, right? That you won't feel the consequence for years to come. Why? Why would you do it, right? Why would you do it? So parents, man, at the end of the day, if your student right now can get the information they need to get them the life that they desire, your job is to help give them the direction and the guidance they need for what it is they desire. Students, if you don't know what it is you desire, if you don't have a clue, you're just winging every day of your life, you can't get the help you need. This is why it becomes a team effort, right? This is why I'm like, yo, every Sunday, this is where we're at. And some of y'all are actually in the community. Some of y'all are actually every day, we're having these conversations. Why? Because you care about where you end up and you're focused on your desired results and not just results. Okay? Two different things. So I want to go into step one, right? I want to go into step one as we create your personal growth journey. Not mine, not your parents, but yours, okay? And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify your excuses. That's key. That's key. If you have a problem, but you never take the time to identify the problem, how do you eliminate it? You can't, right? So let's start by pinpointing the excuses that we sometimes make. And it's okay. We all do it from time to time, but it's not okay to keep making them over and over and over, right? And not growing from what it is you're acknowledging. Remember, right? Write this down. Your job every day is to collect data on yourself, dissect that data so that you can implement the new data going into the next day. Today is a stepping stone for tomorrow. Today is not just about today. What I produce today, the work I put in today, I can now become better tomorrow. If I don't put in anything today, then that means I'm working on yesterday's information. And if I don't put anything in the day after that, before you know it, the information I'm executing on is 5 years old. How can I grow? I'm behind the 8 ball. You know what I mean? I'm behind now. Let's jump in. The first thing I want you to ask yourself is an excuse I often find myself using is, what is an excuse that you often find yourself using? What is it? What is an excuse that you often find yourself using? Let's talk about it. Write it down, though. Nobody's going to see it. It's just for you. So you can be 100% honest, right? 100% honest with answering this. What is an excuse you often find yourself using? All right. Number 2, this excuse comes up when does that excuse come up? Most of the time we make excuses when we fear an outcome. But you know what's crazy about that? We don't even know what the outcome will be. We just assume that we know what it would be. But because you don't know what it would be, you don't know what the consequence is, you come up with an excuse on why it happened. You come up with an excuse on why you did it. Instead of just saying what happened, taking responsibility for what happened. At the end of the day, you're going to have another chance to do better. But if all you do is live behind the excuse, you can't even get help. And most of the time, right, a lot of the time, we have the excuse because we don't know how to ask for help. We don't know what we need help in. My coach used to say to me all the time, right? C used to be like, yo, P, you gotta write your keynotes out. I need you to write your keynote. And I used to say to him, like, yo, C, my spelling messed up, man. Like, I don't even write. He'd be like, yo, nobody's gonna read it but you. Like, you're the only one who read it. So if you know what you write down, what's the problem? It was the excuse of, I didn't know, my excuse, right? That was an excuse. My spelling's bad. He took that away when he was like, yo, nobody's gonna see it but you. Nobody knows what you wrote down but you. Really, I just didn't know how to write a keynote. I knew how to structure the keynote. I knew write my topic, give me 3 bullet points, and all I got to do now is identify my story that I want to use for each one of the bullet points to connect it, and then tie it all together at the end. And each one of the bullet points is a part of what the topic is. I got it, but I couldn't write it. I kept saying I can't write it. I kept coming up with every reason why I couldn't write it. And then I said, yo, remember Nick Cannon in Drumline? Remember Nick Cannon in Drumline? He didn't read the music, but when he heard it, he knew how to play it. When I wrote the topic and I wrote my bullet points, I already knew my stories. It's my life. I already knew how the bullet points connected to the topic so I could tie it together. So then I started just being like, okay, yep, that's my story. It's never going to be the same as far as the way I weave it all together. But Once I do it over and over and over, and I take 45 minutes every day and I keep doing it, I keep doing it, I keep doing it, it becomes mine. But then what I realized is over time, there's key points inside of the story, key points in my connections, the way I was bridging the gaps. I'm like, oh, I got to write that down. I like that transformation. I like that transition to go from here to here. Let me master that transition. So now I'm writing down my transitions. From writing down my transitions, I kept putting in like different little hooks to grab attention before I got to the transition. And before you know it, I wrote the keynote. So I was looking at it like, yo, I got to sit down and write it out. Like, just write it. No, it doesn't matter how I write it. I just need to write it so that it's uniformed. So every time I would go over it, I'm like, oh, I like that part. Oh, when I was in front of that group, that hit. And before you know it, I can be in front of this group over here, one demographic, this demographic, but I got so many transitions and so many hooks that go into the trick that it was like, yo, that's easy. That's light work. I was thinking I had to write it the way everybody else did. And when I told C what the problem was, he was like, yo, P, the way you're doing it is fire. I just need you to write it so when you go somewhere, the message is consistent. Got it. So I'm telling you, get rid of your excuses so that you can get the help that you need, okay? Number 3, I want you to dive deep a little bit, right? I want you to go a little deeper on this one and ask yourself, what is the real reason, right? So the real reason is, what is it? What is it, right? So this excuse comes up when the real reason, right? So deep dive into this one. I know, right? Really deep down in you, you know the real reason is. I just told you, for me, the real reason was I just didn't know how to sit down and write it all out because I never wrote a paper. So deep down, what is your real reason for the excuse, right? So let's run through these 3 real quick. An excuse I often find myself using is, what is that excuse, okay? This excuse comes up when you what? When does that excuse come up? And then deep down, you know the real reason is. What is it? Write that down. Let's go to step 2. Unmasking the camouflaged excuses. Sometimes our excuses hide behind our fears. The question is, are you willing to identify them, right? Are you willing to identify them? Because we know what happens, okay? Number 1, a fear that often leads to an excuse is. I said this earlier, and a fear that often leads to an excuse is the fear of not knowing the outcome, not knowing what your punishment will be. So you come up with the excuse to try to avoid the unknown, okay? Don't do that. Don't do it. Number 2, this fear originated from, where'd it come from? I used to have a fear, like my mom called me, right? I knew like, yo, if I got caught doing this, I was getting the beating and I was getting on punishment, right? So the fear originated from the beating, right? The beating. And then really what I really figured out, I take the beating. It wasn't the beating, it was the punishment. I didn't want to be in. I didn't want to be stuck in. So the fear of being unpunished, being put on punishment became the bigger fear over the beating, because the beating's only going to last for a few minutes, right? Not even, right? It's going to last for a little bit. And then I'm back outside and I can go enjoy the rest of my day. But the fear of punishment, then it was like the beating and the punishment, because she realized that I didn't worry about the beating. I was more concerned with the punishment, but I needed the beating anyway because the beating corrected me a little longer. You see what I'm saying? And some people are like, yo, don't beat your, I get it, whatever. Like, yo, I ain't beat my kids. I didn't do it, right? But I'm just saying that fear played throughout my life, okay? It played throughout my life. Number 3, an instance where this fear stopped you was. What is an instance? Where did this fear stop you, okay? An instance where this fear stopped me was. What is it? See, when you understand what the fear is, you understand what the fear does to you mentally, emotionally, physically, and you identify it, you identify where it stopped you. Yo, it's easier to move through high school. a lot of the frustration, a lot of the pain, a lot of the doubt, a lot of the fear is, for me, was created as I went through high school. What is it for you? Right? What is it for you? Let's go to number 3, step 3, and being honest with yourself, right? I need you to be honest with yourself right here. To move past these excuses, we need to have a heart-to-heart with ourselves. The heart-to-heart isn't with nobody else. You're going through school right now. You're in high school. You got your own fear, your own frustration. There's things that nobody knows. You don't say nothing about, right? Your parents don't know, but they keep seeing, they keep asking you questions, and you keep talking around what the fear is. You keep talking around what the problem is, so it can never be dealt with. We can't talk around what it is. We got to be willing to talk about what it is, right? So I need you to at least identify it with yourself and write it down, okay? So number 1, if I put aside my excuses, I can. What can you do if you put aside your excuses? See, when I put aside my excuses and I never wrote a book report, I wrote the book. And because I wrote the book, now when I say, hey, I want to go to colleges and I want to speak, I'm not going to colleges as a high school dropout. I'm going to colleges and I'm like, hey, listen, I wrote this book. And the reason I wrote this book is da-da-da-da-da. What this book helps with is da-da-da-da-da. And I want to come and talk to your students. I'm like, but I want to leave you with the book so you can read it. Now, when they look at it, when they look at the book and they actually read the book, it's the outcome that they get from reading the book. It allows them, right? It gets them to the point where I end up speaking at the college, at the university. But I'm not leading with anything else other than, hey, I wrote the book. And the reason I wrote the book, right? So, number 2, being completely honest. What I really want is, what do you really want? What do you really want out of your life? You're in high school right now. You're going through your struggles. You feel like nobody understands you. I get it. But what do you want? What do you want? I want you to write that down. Number 3, one thing I've been avoiding, but know it is good for me is, what's one thing you've been avoiding, but you know it's good for you? See, I was avoiding writing my keynote, but having a message that I can take from place to place to place to place is very important. I listen to Nas now, right? Nas wrote an album way back when I was young, and Nas performs that album to this day at an orchestra with all the instruments. You see what I'm saying? He did that way back then. It lives forever. I don't know. I'm just saying. I was avoiding it though. Okay, number 3, one thing I've been avoiding, but I know it is good for me. We just went over that one. But let's go to this. Let's go into step 4. We are almost done. We're almost done here. Bear with me. Bear with me. We're almost done. Let's visualize a path where we grow beyond our current selves without any excuses holding us back. Let's visualize that. Let's see. One small step I can take today to overcome an excuse is, what is one small step? One small step you can make today. When I was writing the keynote, the small step was getting my transitions down. Why? Because your transition is like 2 to 3 lines. I can write 2 to 3 lines. How do I go from this to this? How do I go from this to this? So I only needed a transition from my opener to my first point, from my first point to my second point, from my second point to my third point, from my third point to the close. So all I need to do is write 3, 6, 9, 12 sentences, right? And I'm done. And once I got them transitions, now I can write a little more, a little more, a little more. Before you know it, bow, I got the keynote, right? So one small step that I did was I started to just write my transitions. Number 2, a resource that might help me is, well, if you're in the community and we're having these conversations every day, we're having Q&A once a week, I'm here, right? I'm a resource for you, okay? So a resource that might help you is, what is it? I want you to write down. Sometimes, man, we got resources so close to us, but we overlook them resources. because we don't see it as a resource. You know what I mean? So I want you to write it down. What's one resource that you can use? Number 3, I will keep track of my process by. How will you track your process? How would you do it? How are you going to track your process? Every day, as I'm writing my transitions, I'm like, yo, I'm just going to write a sentence. Just going to write a sentence every day, right? Every day. And then every 3 days, I got to transition. And then I'm going to go and refine that transition until I get something that rolls off my tongue and sounds like me and nobody else. I'm not going to use any struggle words. Like if you notice, I really don't use the word like ask, because if I'm saying it too fast and I'm just in conversation, I might be like, yo, let me ask you something real quick. You see what I mean? And I don't want to do that. So I stay away from struggle words. And then you notice even in this, even now, right, in this, as I was saying some words, I had to go back and say it again. And I'm like, you know what I mean, right? In my presentation, I avoid them struggle words unless I'm using it to make a point. So if I'm saying, like, anytime I bring up like the word hot, right, I'm going to always clarify. And I'm going to be like, yo, it's hot in here, right? Or my heart, because I say it the same way, like, yo, my heart hurts. Yo, it's hot out here. The same way. So I'm going to clarify that. But then I'm always going to point out the fact, like, yo, the way I enunciate. But it's not stopping me from doing what I do. And there's something that you use that's stopping you from doing what you do because you feel like people might laugh at you. Listen, if I say it's hot out here and you confuse that with my heart hurts, then, yo, that's your business, right? I'm always going to plug it in like that so you can hear what I'm saying, and I'm using it to make a point. I hope you get that, okay? So how will you keep track of your progress? You do what you say you're going to do every day. Every day, you do what you say you are going to do. Okay, let's go. Let's jump into number 5, man. It's the last one. Reflect, and revisit. Reflect and revisit. Okay, growth is a journey, and it's perfectly fine to revisit and reflect. I don't need nothing to be perfect. I just need it to be. Nothing to be perfect. I just need it to be. Okay, so number 1. In the future, I want to revisit this section too. Why would you visit the excuse section of this course? Well, as you go from one level to the other level, you go from one group of excuses to another group of excuses. I was talking to some of my rich friends, and my rich friend said, you know, I had my coach ask me. This is my rich friend talking to me, right? He said, I had my coach ask me, yo, when are you gonna be not okay with only making $2 million a year? And he was like, man, I live below my means. I'm able to save majority. Like, I make $2 million, but I got some bread. He said, but when are you gonna put in the work to go from 2 to 3? When are you gonna go from 2 to 5? And he was like, man, that's a lot of work. People would think, yo, if you made 2, all right, cool, go make you another 2. It's different to go from 2 to 5. It's another level of commitment. The excuse, when your commitment grows, when the level of your commitment needs to grow, your excuses start to now live, right? You come up with new excuses on why. Oh, I'm comfortable, man. I'm making the money I want. Come on, man. I'm in the top percentage of, I'm making X. My expenses are only, I'm able to save this every year. I make 2, but man, I'm saving 1.5. You see what I mean? It gets a little different. It gets a little different. So this is why you got to always revisit the excuse section. So one reason that you would want to revisit is so you can conquer the new excuses you come up with. Number 2, I hope I feel blank after revisiting this section. How would you want to feel? Rejuvenated? I want to feel like I got more control over my life, right? Number 4, an affirmation to keep me going is, what is an affirmation that you can use to keep you going? What is it? One affirmation you can use to keep you going. I don't know, for everybody is different, right? So when I revisit this section and I'm like, I'm dope, I'm phenomenal, I believe it. For me, what am I dope for now? I was dope for this back then, but what am I dope for now? I was phenomenal for this back then, but what am I phenomenal for now? And do I believe it? And why do I believe it? You see what I mean? So when I'm saying I'm dope, I'm phenomenal, I believe it, there's different levels of me being dope. There's different levels of me being phenomenal. There's different levels of belief. When I'm in a high school and I'm dope, I'm phenomenal, I believe it, that's one message. When I'm over here with corporate, I'm dope, I'm phenomenal, I believe it, that's another message. Because I was able to be in all of these spaces. And I'm phenomenal, I'm dope, and I'm phenomenal, and I believe it for different reasons. So as you're going through high school and you come up with excuse after excuse after excuse, you got blame for this and blame for that and blame for this. What part of it is on you? What part of it is on you? Now listen, before we get out of here, I want to help you with this right here. Avoid complacency, okay? That means you have to change things up. You got to change things up. When I'm driving home, I tend not to take the same way because it eliminates my thinking. Because I'm on autopilot just going home the same way all the time. You go to school the same way all the time. You go into every class with the same mindset every time. Why? Change it up. When you walk through school, today you're going to school for this. This is what you're looking to get out of school today. This is why you're going in this class today. In this class today, you're looking to be braver today than you was yesterday. You haven't raised your hand in class all week long. But you got this class over here. You put your hand up because you feel smart. You feel super intelligent, so you put your hand up over there. But then you got that class you go into that you feel less than, but you never put your hand up. So when you go into this class, I want you to change it up. I want you to say, you know what? I'm going to be braver today. And I'm going to put my hand up in this class, and I'm going to ask a question today. I'm going to participate in this class more than I did yesterday, all right? I don't want you to be afraid to change it up. I want you to challenge yourself to view things different than you always have. Challenge yourself to view it different. You got a teacher you don't like? Yo, what is there about that teacher that you can find that you do like? We get so focused on finding what keeps us separate that we don't focus on what can bring us closer. We don't focus on what new information I can get from you. What do you know that I need to know? What do you know that would help me? Instead, we look at the teachers and we talk about what we don't like about them. Oh, they're mean. Yeah, maybe they're mean because they know you got more in you and they're tired of watching you waste it. How about that? I used to think Miss Brown was mean until Miss Brown stepped up and showed me. She just knew I had more in me, and she got more out of me. I thank Miss Brown. I wish I could find her. I wish I could find her just to tell her, like, Miss Brown, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Brown, for all the help you gave me. Thank you, Miss Brown, for everything you did for me. Thank you, Miss Brown, for being there. You know what I mean? Start changing. Start challenging yourself. Challenge yourself to view things differently. What you see is not always what is, okay? I want you to start to expect changes. Expect things to change. When you expect it to stay the same, you get disappointed every time. Why? Because things are always going to change, okay? Overcome your fears. Whatever fear you have, overcome that fear. You're afraid of doing this because of this criticism? Go do it. You're afraid of doing this because of that? Go do it. You're afraid of speaking up because of this? Go do it. And when you find that by you facing that fear, right, by you being willing to overcome that fear, other people will start to admire you more. I remember the first time I was like, I'm going to raise my hand, man. I'm just going to ask a question. Do you know, because there was kids in my class that thought I was cool, they thought I was the class clown, they thought they knew more than me, all of these different scenarios, when I raised my hand and asked the question and it sparked the conversation, that more kids started to raise their hand and ask questions because they wanted to outsmart the kid that they thought was the dumb kid. But really, they realized, like, yo, dude's not really dumb, like, dude's smart, but they wanted to raise their hand now too. You see what I mean? I sparked that. I did that. All right? I want you to challenge yourself to learn to adapt to change, because change is coming. When you learn to adapt to change, you're not afraid of change, so you will get out of your way and start to do more so that you can get the change. I hope you get that. I hope you get that. Next week, man, we are going to talk about something that will take this to a whole nother level for you, okay? But remember, at the end of the day, you still got to do the work. You still got to step up to the plate. You still have to look at the person in the mirror and be happy with yourself at the end of every single day. Are you willing to do that? High school is the time for you to maximize, to set up your life so that you can dominate your life and you can get your desired results and not just results. Two different things. I want desired results. And while you're in high school right now, I want you to challenge yourself to do better. I want you to challenge your parents to be there better. I want you to be able to know what it is that you want to do and wake up every single day and do it when people think that you're not going to do it, and watch the support you start to get. Right now, people don't want to support you because they watched you waste so much time. They watched you live below your potential that they don't want to take their time to invest in you just for you to waste it the way you've been wasting it. So it might take you a week. It might take you 6 months. It might take you a year to find believers in you. But at the end of that year, at the end of that time, when them believers show up, you will be ready for the opportunity. Let me share something with you before we get out of here. There's times, right? The first time I ever opened up and I spoke in Houston before Eric Thomas came up. Before E got on the stage, CJ said to me, he was like, yo, P, it's your time. I said, what you mean? My time for what? He was like, yo, it's your time, man. Go, like, yo, you got 5 minutes. I said, 5? He was like, yep, you got 5. E got to get ready. I got up there. I did my 5 minutes. Yo, fire. I went over like 30-something seconds, right? C was, yo, P, you got 5. Like, yo, it's over. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of it, there was 3 people that joined the community, Breathe University, because of the 5 minutes I took in Houston. Listen, understand this, a year later, I was in Detroit. I was in Lansing, Michigan. And I got the call, my phone rung. It was Carl. Carl hit me like, yo, P, did you get the text? I said, nah, what text, Carl? He was like, yo, you speaking up at Michigan today. You ready? Like you up there today, it's your turn. You ready? I'm like, yo, you serious? He was like, yo, yeah, yo, boom, sent me the flyer. I still got the flyer in my phone. It got E right there, like E in the middle, doing his thing. And then I'm over on the side looking all big like Ruben Stutter. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I kept that image. And before I went on stage, before I opened up, CJ said to me, he said, yo, P, relax. He said, you're going to have a line after this event. When this event's over, he said, you're going to have a line. And people are going to be in line to wait to talk to you because you got a message. And I'm sitting here in my mind, I'm like, yeah, see? But in my mind, right? In my mind, I'm like, yeah, right. Come on, man. Everybody here to see E. They ain't here for me. And yo, at the end of that, Eric Thomas had a long line over there, right? I had a line with like 15, 20 people in that line. So here I am opening up for E. E got a line through like down to like everybody in the room, pretty much an E line for a handshake in the picture. I had 15 to 20 people. And one of the people in my line, he was like, yo, we bought these tickets and we came here to see E because I've been following E for so long. He said, yo, we slept in the airport when we got here because we didn't have no money for no room. Not only did we sleep in the airport when we got here, but our flight wasn't till the next day. So me and my girl, we slept in the airport overnight to go back home. He said we had to do this because we only had enough money for the airfare. And we had to split our food while we was in the airport. He said, and I came here for E. He said, but when I heard you talk about uncomfortable equals growth, he said, listen, you made me cry. He said, like, my girl looked at me and I'm crying and she gave me a hug. He was like, yo, it was such a blessing. It was such a blessing to meet you. It was such a blessing to come here to hear you. He said, what I thought I was coming for is not what I came for. Yo, when he said it to me, my eyes started to water. Because all I heard C say was, yo, P, your message is going to have people in your line. Your message is going to touch people. Yeah, they came here to see Eve, but I need you to understand you got a voice, you got a message, and your message and your voice is powerful. Yo, after that, I was a believer. There's something that you need to happen to you to wake up that inner voice, to wake up that inner superpower. And right now is the time. All right? I hope that helped.